Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna recommend you some historical fiction books that I really enjoyed reading. Historical fiction is easily one of my favorite genres to read because I like to learn new things. I know that the books are fictional, but most of the time there are some truths in them. What I really like to do is after finish reading a historical fiction novel, I like to go on the internet, research some facts, and dive into new parts of history that I've never knew that existed. The first book that I would like to recommend for you guys is Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. So this book is based on true events that happened in the US. In the first half of the 20th century, there was an orphanage that operated in the state of Tennessee called Tennessee's Children's Home Society. It was mostly associated with Memphis branch operator Georgia Tann. So this orphanage was involved in kidnapping children and selling them to wealthy families as adoption. All of this is true, and the novel follows 5 fictional siblings who were kidnapped and put into this orphanage, and it is about their horrifying experience. The characters in this novel are fictional, but their experiences inside this orphanage and Georgia Tann are very real. After I finished reading this novel, I spent hours researching the true story behind the orphanage and Georgia Tann and what happened to her. It is a really great book and I highly recommend it. The second book that I'm gonna recommend is Between Shades of Grey by Ruth Tessipites. For me, it was a really hard book to read because it tackles part of history that not many historical fictions talks about. The novel follows a 15-year-old Lithuanian girl in 1941. She lives a normal life with her family and she likes to draw, paint, go to school, a normal 15-year-old girl. Until one night the Soviet soldiers barge into her home, take them and separate her family. Lena, her mother and her brother are separated from her father and they are taken by train to Siberia to a war camp, and they are forced to work under Stalin's orders. This book is based on many people's sufferings, not just one, and Ruth Tessipites describes better than me in one of her videos how did she decide to write this novel, her research, how her travel to Lithuania and interviewing many survivors, and she put some parts of their experiences in Lena's story in this novel. I will put a link for Ruth's video in the description box. The main reason why I'm recommending this novel is because it talks about a part of history that we never heard about, we never studied in school, and many people suffered of it. It won't be a historical fiction recommendation video without some World War II novels. I'm gonna recommend you The Nightingale by Christine Hanna. It is a really popular historical fiction here on BookTube, and for a good reason. I won't say much about this novel, but it follows 2 very different sisters during World War II in France and how their lives drastically changed due to the war and their reaction to it. It is a story about bravery, but in different forms. The next book that I'm recommending is 1,000 Splendid Sun by Khalid Hussein, not Khalid and not Khalid. The story is set in Afghanistan in the late 80s, I believe. The story follows 2 women and how their lives intertwine, their struggles during the war to survive, raise a family, and to find happiness. I've read somewhere that even though the book is fictional, some parts of the story are based on true events that happened to Afghani women that Khalid Husseini interviewed in Afghanistan. I am not a book crier. No matter how sad the book is, I rarely cry over a book. But this book, it made me shed tears more than once while reading the book, and it broke my heart multiple times. My last recommendation is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. It is a well-loved book here on YouTube. The book is set in 1939 in Nazi Germany and the narrator is deaf. It follows the story of a book-loving girl and her new life with her foster family. I don't easily get attached to fictional characters, but most of the characters in this book are lovable and I really like Rudy. So that's it for today's video. I think I'm gonna do a part 2 soon because I even have more historical fiction to recommend for you guys. If you like this video, subscribe to see my future videos and I'll see you next time.